Namaste and good morning, everyone. We'll start our class with the prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Now Mahamrityunjay mantra 3 times to pray for those who are in suffering. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Welcome everyone. Today we'll start a new topic. It's a very important topic in Sanskrit and very interesting also. It is the topic of passive voice. So active voice, passive voice, as we know in English. In Sanskrit, the concept is similar as it is in English in passive voice, but there is some difference. In Sanskrit, there are 3 usages. Kartari prayoga, what we would normally call active voice. Karmani prayoga, what we would call as passive voice. And bhave prayoga, what we would call as something which doesn't exist in English. So it gives a tremendous amount of power to Sanskrit structures, that it's a different usage where the focus is the verb itself. And we'll see what do they mean. And then there is a concept of karaka, which is intertwined with this passive voice. So prayoga, this word prayoga, just to let you know, this prayoga is the usage. So how do you use the verb? In what sense? So kartari in the sense of, if you know kartari, we did this declensions, and if you remember, this kartari, you see this word kartari here, this is the 7th case singular of kartru, doer. So we have already done these forms, kartru, and kartari is the 7th case singular. So kartari prayoga means the usage in the sense of karta, in the sense of doer. So usage which highlights the doer. That's what it means. Karmani similarly is also 7th case singular of karman. That also we did. Karman like Atman, Karman, Rajan. It may look like a long time ago, but Karmani, Karman, and this is also 7th case singular. So in the sense of karma, we'll see these are the technical terms. What is karta? What is karma? So karmani, the usage in the sense of karma, to highlight the karma. Bhave is also seventh case singular, and this probably all of you can recognize, like Rama, Rame. It's a akaranta noun, and bhava means the sense of the verb. So to highlight the sense of the verb itself, that is called bhavi prayoga. So just to make sure that there is some difference between the passive voice and this usage, we'll try to use this terminology. That way it will become very clear to you when you are studying Sanskrit and not get confused necessarily with English equivalent passive voice. And we will see what is English passive voice and where it differs also. So we'll start with a few sentences. So in English, a passive voice, just you probably all know. So if I say a passive voice in English, like Rama tells a story, that's an active voice sentence. Rama tells a story. How would you make it as a passive voice sentence? Does anybody want to write in the chat window to tell me how would you do it that in the passive voice, this sentence in English? So so quite a few people have come with the correct answer. So a story is told by Rama, and that becomes a passive voice. So we'll just keep that as an example. One thing here I want to ask you, if I say Rama told a story instead of Rama tells a story, how would it differ? Rama told a story is told by Rama. How is it differ? How does it differ? What is there any difference the word told here versus the told here? So think about it. You can write your answer and tell me where is the difference. What is the difference between these two words which are exactly the same spelling? Do they mean the same thing or is there a difference? So there are a few answers, but the technically correct answer is here it's a verb form. It's a past verb form of tell. Here it's a participle. It's not a verb form. It just happens to be the same form, but it's a participle, it's not a verb. Here it's a verb form. You will see the difference if I tell you another sentence. So suppose there are two persons, Jack and Jenny. Jack proposes to Jenny. Jenny says no. So we can say Jenny broke Jack's heart. That's active voice. And in the passive voice, it will be Jack's heart is broken by Jenny. So there are the broke and broken. So broke and broken are different. Broken is the participle and broke is the verb form. So what that tells you is that in English, when you make a passive sentence, there is no passive verb form. You have to use a participle. In Sanskrit, there is an amazing structure that you can use a verb form as well as a participle. So that's one difference between English and Sanskrit passive voice. So today we will see the verb form, and then in the future class, one of the future classes, we will see the participle form, how to make passive. So there are two ways you can make passive in Sanskrit. One by using the verb form, another by using the participle form. In English, there is no equivalent to verb form. So both way you will translate the same way in English, but Sanskrit, those two are different structures. Just another kind of a structure which is they are more in Sanskrit than in English. So let's get to the similar sentence in Sanskrit. So if I just say a word in Sanskrit, gacchati, we all are familiar with this word. Gacchati means goes. So if you remember, I have always told you that in Sanskrit, verb can form a sentence. A verb would mean a complete sentence. So what does gacchati mean? Gacchati mean, if you simply take the sentence, it means goes. Goes. But the question is, it's not a complete sentence. There has to be, it still leaves the sense of who is going, who goes. So then we say, okay, if the subject is not mentioned in Sanskrit, then by default you can assume he, if it is not mentioned. So then we say he goes. Even though here it's not mentioned here, but because it's a complete sentence, and sentence will not be completed without the person who is doing the action, we say he goes. So here goes, or the gacchati, is the verb. In Sanskrit, the technical name for this is Kriya. And as I said, just be very clear on a few technical terms here so that we can use them properly. So Kriya is the activity which is represented by the verb. So I'll just put it here, Kriya. So you see here, the Kriya is the action represented by the verb. Gacchati, goes. Dhatu, the root word, that is basis for almost all the words in Sanskrit, that is gam. So do not confuse the dhatu and kriya. And this kriya is not like in Kriya Yoga, even though the words are same, they come from the same root also. But here it's a technical term. Just like when you study physics, you define force, energy in physics terms. You cannot use the general understanding of force, energy, power while studying physics, even though the words are same and in some cases similar meaning. Similarly, here in grammar, in Sanskrit, when we study the words, we have to be very precise about the definitions. So that is action represented by the verb, Kriya. So gacchati is the Kriya. Then the one who is doing the action. So if I say here, balakah gacchati. So the boy goes. Sorry. So here the boy, the balakaha, becomes the doer of this action. So that we call karta. So karta is the doer of the kriya. So balaka is the karta. That's the term karta. Here, as I told you, that if you just put the verb, it still demands that there be a karta. If you just mention the kriya, there is still, sentence is not quite complete if you do not mention the karta. So if it is not mentioned, we assume that there is a default karta, he. But when it is mentioned, like balakaha, then karta is very clear, the boy goes. Now this sentence is complete in itself grammatically. We can supply more details to it, but the sentence itself is complete. If I change the verb Kriya form, the verb, to gachatah or gachanti, let's say, gachanti, as you know, it's a plural form. What does that tell me? That the verb conveying the meaning that many people go. I have not mentioned the karta here, but one thing is very clear, that karta also has to be plural, because the verb is indicating, the kriya is indicating the plurality. So the karta also has to be plural, it has to match here with the kriya. So karta here would become, in that case, balakaha gachanti. So the boys go. In English we'll say the boys go. So far clear that we have a kriya and we have a karta, and if kriya is mentioned in singular, then karta also has to be in singular. If kriya is mentioned in plural, then karta also has to be matching the kriya, sense of kriya. Now suppose I take this sentence, balakah gacchati, and add a little detail to it. So if I say balakah gacchati and I say balaka, where does he go? So I'll say, well, he goes vidyalayam. He goes to the school. Balakah vidyalayam gacchati. The boy goes to the school. So the verb, the kriya here is gacchati, the goes. The karta is balakah. What is vidyalayam? Vidyalayam is called the karma. Again, don't get confused with the karma as we mentioned, law of karma or that thing. Here it's a technical term related to grammar. Karma is the object of the verb. So balaka goes, the boy goes, he goes to school. The karta, this vidyalayam, the school, becomes the object of the verb. So in English we normally say object, and I don't want to use the English words here because the terminology is of Sanskrit and it's better that you understand the Sanskrit terminology. So this is called karma. So the definition of karma is given as that which is the immediate object of the kriya. So because you go and if you complete the action, you happen to reach the school. The boy, if he completes the kriya, he happens to reach the school. So that is the most immediate, that is the object of the verb. So that is called karma. So there is a kriya, which is the action itself, represented by the verb gacchati. The karta, the one who is the doer of the action, balakah, and karma, which is the immediate object of the verb. So balakah vidyalayam gacchati. So far clear? So if I say balakaha gachanti, the boys go to the school, what will I say? Vidyalayam, will this be singular or plural? So this will still be singular. So I can say, for example, here, if I take this sentence, and even if multiple boys are going, the school remains the same. One, school doesn't become many just because the verb is representing the plural. The Kriya is representing, Kriya is conveying the sense of plurality that will make sure that the Karta is in plural, but not the Karma. Because Kriya here is connected to the Karta, not to the Karma directly. Like, it is not representing the Karma directly. It is only representing the Karta. So if I say the boys go to the school, here Kriya is representing the Karta, not the Karma. Karma remains the same. So whether one boy goes, two boys goes, multiple boys go, this is the Karma. That doesn't mean that Karma cannot be plural. If multiple boys are going to multiple schools, it could be, but it's not determined by the Kriya itself, the form of the verb. So for example, I can say another sentence, Balakaha Falani Khadati. You probably all understand this sentence. The boy eats the fruits. Here Falani is the plural. So Khadati, the Kriya is in singular. That means the Karta has to be in singular, but the object, this is Falani, here is the Karma. That could be plural or that could be singular. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter depending upon the form of the Kriya. That's the main point. So whether it is singular or plural, that is not determined by the Kriya. Kriya is only determining the Karta, whether Karta is in singular or plural. That's why, because Kriya is determining the Karta, this kind of usage is called Kartari Prayoga. So Kartari Prayoga. Because Kriya is determining the Karma, Karta. Kriya is determining the Karta, so it's called Kartari Prayoga. So that's how the Kartari Prayoga comes. And that's what we call active voice. But I just want you to understand that there is slight difference, and that difference will become clearer when we see what are the other two prayogas are. Now suppose if Kriya, instead of telling me about the Karta, it tells me about the Karma, what will happen? Is it possible? So the in Sanskrit structure it is possible. How is it possible? So instead of Gachati, the Kriya changes to Gamyate. Gamyate means, literally means in English, if you have to translate, is gone to. So when I change the Kriya into this format, Gamyate instead of Gachati, now here because it's gone to, it is representing the Karma, not the Karta. So what will I do here is, with the, here basically now I have to say Vidya Vidyalayah Gamyate. So here school is gone to. It's kind of looking strange in English because we don't say the sentence like that, but that's where in Sanskrit this kind of construction is not considered strange. So gamyate here is representing the karma. So karma comes into the first case, prathama vibhakti. If you see like Rama, 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 so we say Rama is the first case, nominative subject, but that is literally what it means is that it is represented by the Kriya. When Kriya represents the karma instead of karta, then karma comes into the first case. Vidyalaya gamyate. And then what about karta? Karta in that case comes in the third case. And that is similar to English. Like in English we say by Rama. The story is told by Rama. So karta comes in the third case, just like in English. So here I will say balakena. So gamyate, vidyalaya gamyate. And then I would make it to balakena vidyalaya gamyate. So now karta comes into the third case. So here if I have to translate in English, then it would be school is gone to by Rama, by the boy. Sounds a bit strange in English, but I can tell you in Sanskrit it does not sound strange at all. Balakena vidyalaya gamyate. School is gone to by the boy. That's what we call karmani prayoga. So karmani prayoga, if you remember here, it means that kriya is representing the karma. So it becomes a karmani prayoga. What it means that if I have to use it the plural form verb, so if I say instead of gamyate, gamyante, which is a plural form, gamyante, then because here vidyalaya is the karma and it is represented by the kriya, I have to use the plural form of vidyalaya. So I cannot say vidyalaya, I have to say vidyalayaha gamyante. The schools are gone to. So here it means the schools are gone to. And it doesn't matter whether the person is, the karta is singular or not, because kriya is not talking about karma. Kriya is not talking about karta directly. So we can say if one boy is going to multiple schools, then that's how it will be. Balakena vidyalayaha gamyante. The schools are gone to by the boy. So here it doesn't matter whether it could be a singular, multi-plural or dual, doesn't matter. It's the karma is what is determined by the verb because it's a karmani prayoga. So karma has to follow the verb in the singular or plural or dual. So that's a karmani prayoga. Any questions so far? This kartari prayoga and karmani prayoga. Because this is important that you understand. The concept can be confusing because it's little different from English. So that's why I wanted to make sure that you understand. Okay, the questions are, is it past tense since gone to? So how about continuous present? So is gone to is the present tense because we are saying gamyante, or in English if you want to say is being gone to. We don't normally say that, but in English, literally for the continuous, you have to translate. You have to say, schools are being gone to by the boy. So you can understand that the translation can be sounding a bit funny in English, just because English doesn't have this structure directly. But Sanskrit, this kind of construction is just fine. Yeah, so there's a question, school is gone to the boy. Is that how you will translate? Yes, that's how you will translate it. School is gone to the boy, gone to by the boy. There's a question, would balakaha vidyalayam gamyante would be correct? No, it will not be correct. Because gamyante, when you say, it represents the karma. It's a form, it's a karmani prayoga. It's not a kartari prayoga. So karmani prayoga means karma here is vidyalaya. That is what is being gone to by this is what is the object of the verb of going. So karma is what follows the kriya in the singular or plural. So it's the vidyalaya is gamyate, vidyalayaha gamyante. And balaka could be singular, plural, doesn't matter. So there is a question, is karmani is passive voice while kartari is active voice? That is correct, except that there is slight difference. As you can see, in English you don't normally translate it this way. But yes, that's where I said that even the concept is similar, there are certain differences in Sanskrit, the way Sanskrit constructs the whole thing. There is a question here, balakena saha gacchati, is this active? Yeah, that will be the active. Gacchati is an active verb form. So whenever you use the active verb form, kriya, it is the kriya which determines whether it's a karmani prayoga or kartari prayoga. It's the prayoga or the application of the kriya, application of the verb that determines. And based upon that, depending upon what kind of verb have you chosen, either karta will match the kriya or karma will match the kriya. So it is again, remember in Sanskrit, the kriya is the focus, the verb is the focus. So you decide when you use the verb that what kind of usage is it. So gamyante, when you look at the form, you know, oh, it's a karmani prayoga usage. So karmani prayoga means the karma has to match the verb. And the karta has to be in the third case. When you see the khadati or gacchati, you see, oh, it's a kartari prayoga. That means karta has to match the verb. And karma can be singular, plural, doesn't matter. Like that. There is a question, could you show how to write that the school is gone to by the boys? That's what I just did, right? Balakena vidyalaya gamyate. School is gone to by the boy. If you have to say school is gone to by the boys, then you use the plural here. So what is the plural of balakena? Third case plural. I hope you remember. Balakaihi, Ramaihi. Third case plural. So this is what you will use. So you will say balakaihi vidyalayaha gamyate. That's all. That's the change. So if you say here, if you have to say that, then you will say balakaihi vidyalayaha gamyate. So school is gone to by the boys. That's what it would mean then. Balakaihi vidyalaya gamyate. Okay, there is a comment here. Understood, though karmani is a bit awkward in English. Yes, it's a bit awkward. And then when we go to bhave, you will find even more awkward. How do we know if the verb is kartari or karmani? I'll tell you how to make the karmani verb, but kartari verb you already know. We have already discussed the declensions of kartari prayoga. So far we have only done kartari prayoga, and you know those endings, gacchati, gachatah, gachanti. So that is kartari prayoga. And karmani prayoga, I'll just show you that how to make those. So they are very simple to make. There is a slightly different way to make, but it's very similar, and I'll explain that to you. So that way you know whether it's a verb is kartari or karmani. There is a question, are these types used in Gita? Practical examples. Yes, of course it is used in Gita, and I'll show you later. First, I wanted to explain the concept to you. Okay, so with this being clear, now I'll move on to the bhave prayoga. What is bhave prayoga? So if I say a sentence, balakah hasati, what does it mean? The boy laughs. Can you make this in passive in English? This sentence, is it possible to make a passive of this sentence in English? In English, we cannot make passive of this because this is called an intransitive verb. There is no object of the verb. He's just laughing. But in Sanskrit, you can make a passive of this, and how will you make a passive of this? You will put the verb in the, so verb will be in the same form. So karmani and bhave, the verb form remains the same. Verb form does not change. So hasyate, just like gamyate, it will become hasyate. Balakena hasyate. And how will you translate in English? The laughing is being done by the boy. Very strange. But in Sanskrit, this kind of sentence makes perfect sense. In English, we don't use this structure, but in Sanskrit, it is considered perfectly fine. So the difference between karmani prayoga and bhave prayoga is only this. In karmani prayoga, it is the karma, the karma is in accordance to the kriya. But in bhave prayoga, there is no karma. So the prayoga, the application of the verb only tells about the sense of the verb itself. And it does not matter whether it is balakena, one balaka, or balakahi. This form does not undergo any change whatsoever. So whether it is me or you, whether I laugh or you laugh, if I make it as a bhave prayoga, this form will remain the same. So in bhave prayoga, there is only one type of verb form, that is the third person singular. No matter what the karta is, because there is no karma. So irrespective of the karta, the kriya would always be in the third person singular. So that is the difference. So very similar, karmani and bhave. The only difference is when the verb does not take karma, there are certain verbs like hasati, laughs. There is no karma, there is no object. So then it is called bhave prayoga, because it's only in the bhava. Bhava means the sense of the verb, just the action. I want to highlight the action of laughing here. By this, so the idea here is, it doesn't matter who is laughing. The laughing is what I want to highlight. And whether multiple people are laughing, whether you are laughing, I am laughing, doesn't matter. It's the action of laughing itself. There is no object. There is no karma of the verb. So the karta again comes into the third case. but the Kriya comes in the third person singular. So that is Bhave. That is really not much difference other than this between Bhave Prayoga and Karmani Prayoga. Just that if the verb is taking an object, then it is called Karmani Prayoga, and the karma has to match the verb. In Bhave Prayoga there is no karma, so karma is not there, and karta comes in third case, which is not matching the verb form. So verb is always in the third person singular. Okay, so any questions so far? So there is a question, is Karmani and Bhave generally Atmanipadi? Yes, I'll come to that in a minute. How to make the Karmani forms or the Bhave forms. So they are the same. In both cases, the verb form is the same. So how to make these forms, I'll come into a minute. But as far as the concept of Kartari, Karmani, Bhave, if there are any questions, you please ask before I move on to how to make these verb forms. Okay, so I hope it is clear now. Now how to make this? So Bhave mainly for intransitive verbs, that's the question. Yes, Bhave is whenever the verb is intransitive, that means it doesn't take karma, then it becomes the intransitive Bhave Prayoga. Okay, so how to make these forms? The way you make these forms is, so you take the root, like in case of gum. So if you remember, we had in the class 5 of Sanskrit 2, I had told you about these endings and how to make the stem. We had done like, these are the Gana Vekarana. So I had told you that how to make from Bhu, Bhava, and it becomes Bhavati. That was in class 5. So you can refer back to class 5 notes. But we make a stem and then we put the endings. So endings are these, and then first you make a stem and put the endings. That's what we discussed in the class 5. You can refer to that video and class notes. So in the passive form or the Karmani form, the stem formation is slightly different, but it's very simple. So how do you form the stem? So say for example gum, then you just add the ya. So the stem becomes gamya. So that's the stem. And once you form a stem, then all you have to do is add these Atmanipadi endings. So there are no separate endings for Karmani Prayoga. It takes the Atmanipadi endings. So Gamyate, Gamyete, Gamyante, Gamyase, Gamyethe, Gamyadhve, Gamye, Gamyavahe, Gamyamahe, like that. So just like you will make the Atmanepadi form for any verb, you will make exactly the same way the Karmani Prayoga or Bhave Prayoga. Only thing is stem is a little different. You have to just add the ya. And of course, there are some other variations in Sanskrit. There are always variations. There are many rules. But that is the general idea, that you make a stem, Gamya, and then add these Atmanepadi endings. Then it becomes a Karmani Prayoga. So why I wanted to show you this sheet also is that when we did those classes, 10 classes, you see for the 4th class, I use the same thing, yakara, as the in between. Ganabhikarana is the suffix coming in between the root and the final endings. So the Karmani Prayoga form, the passive form, is similar to what you would make of the roots of the fourth class. So there is a form called man in class 4. So if you say manyate, so there is a root man. Man means to think, and it's a class 4 root. If I have to make passive the Atmanipadi, let's say first I want to make Atmanipadi in the Kartari Prayoga. Because it belongs to class 4, I'll make a stem by adding yak, 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 ya. So I'll say man plus ya, manya, and then I will add te. Then once I have the stem, then I will add these because it's a Atmanipadi dhatu. So I'll add manyate, manyete, manyante, like that. Same way for the Karmani form. So for these class roots, the Karmani form and the Kartari form, they would be same, but based upon the sentence, you can know whether it's a Kartari Prayoga or Bhavi Prayoga. So in Kartari Prayoga, the Karta will be matching the verb, and it would be in the first case. In Karmani Prayoga or Bhavi Prayoga, Karta would be may not match the verb, and it will be in the third case. So that's how you will know. So if you have to take an example, you will say balakaha manyate. If I use this balakaha manyate, can you tell me whether it is a Kartari Prayoga or Karmani Prayoga? Anybody wants to write it? The boy thinks. That's what it would mean. Is it a Karmani Prayoga or Kartari Prayoga? Excuse me, let me. So it's a Kartari Prayoga. Why is it Kartari Prayoga? Because Karta is in the, many of you have given the correct answer, but some of you did not. So it's a Kartari Prayoga because Karta is in first case. That's why it's a Kartari Prayoga. The same thing, if I have to say in the Karmani Prayoga, in this case, let's say Bhave Prayoga, because it may not have the object. So it will be Bhave Prayoga. I have to say Balakena Manyate. Same Balakena Manyate. The meaning would be the same. Here it would be literally, if I have to say literally, how the meaning would be the boy thinks. Here the meaning would be, the translation would be the thinking is done by the boy. So that's how it will be. So based upon the, even though it is the same form, you know based upon the sentence, the Karta form, whether it is Karmani Prayoga or Kartari Prayoga. So just to keep that in mind. Just like in English, the told and told, they are the same words, but one is verb form, one is a participle form. And you know by looking at the sentence, because here it is coming as story is told by Rama and Rama told a story. So you know here. So there is a question, no parasmaipadi endings for karmani or bhavi prayoga. That's correct. So irrespective of whether the verb is parasmaipadi or atmanepadi, we will always have atmanepadi endings only. We will not have parasmaipadi endings for karmani or bhavi prayoga. Okay, so I hope it is a little clearer to you, these concepts of karmani, kartari, karmani and bhavi. If there are any questions so far, please ask. It's kind of a very involved topic. It is a little difference in English from English, so many people feel a little bit confusion. Okay, so I'll show you in Gita some examples from Gita. So this is the verse 219. Ya enam veti hantaram yasyainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hanti na hanyate. So here it's an interesting verse. So we have, how many verb forms we have? We have manyate, just the one which we were discussing. We have vijanitaha. We have hanti. We have hanyate. And veti also. We have a lot of verb forms here. So we will not focus on the veti right now. It's clearly a parasmaipadi form, ti. But manyate, can you make a guess looking at the translation? Which one could it be? This manyate we were just discussing, whether it's a kartari form or the karmani form. So here the way you would know is yaha. This if you split the sandhi, yaha, manyate. So yaha is clearly the first form for the karta. If it were yena, then you know it's a karmani prayoga. Because it's yaha, it's a kartari prayoga. Okay, so manyate is one who considers. So he who considers. So it's a kartari prayoga. Then vijanita also we will not consider right now. Hanti and hanyate. Now there is the same root being used in kartari and karmani prayoga. In the same time, you see it's very interesting. Hanti is clearly a parasmaipadi kartari prayoga, because parasmaipadi can only be kartari. It cannot be karmani or bhave. And hanyate, the same root, hanyate is clearly a karmani prayoga or bhave prayoga. So that's how the translation is. Soul neither kills nor is killed. So is killed. So that's how you know that it's a karmani prayoga. Hanyate. So this is an interesting verse, that it shows the same verb form in both kartari and karmani prayoga. Then here uchyate. Can you see uchyate, tadochyate, uchyate, tada uchyate, tadochyate. So is called. You see, is called. Uchyate. So it is from vach, becomes uchyate, is called. Then gamyate, we saw this form. Gamyate. Yat sankhyahi prapyate. So this is the form here. Prapyate, gamyate. And you see prapyate, now sankhyahi, you see the third person plural. The karta is in third person, third case. Karta is in third case here. Yogaihi. Karta is in third case. So it's a karmani prayoga. So the one which is reached by Sankhya Yogi is also reached by Karma Yogi. So Pashyati, this is a Kartari Prayoga, Karta is in the first case. So that's a very telltale sign for you to see whether it's a Kartari Prayoga or Karmani Prayoga or Bhavi Prayoga. So one way to identify, of course, the verb itself will have this yaka, ya and te or the Atmanepadi ending and preceded by ya. That would be the telltale sign of a karmani form or a bhave form. In addition, you can always see the karta, whether it is mentioned in the third case. Sometimes karta is not mentioned. It is just assumed. But in most of the times from the context to be very clear whether it's a kartari form or a karmani form. So this is diyate, this is a passive form, is given, a gift which is made or which is given. So like that. So we can have a small break now with the classwork, and I'll come back and we'll discuss the same topic a little bit more is remaining. Before we take the class break, I just want to ask you one question, because there was a request actually from more than one people that homework is becoming too much for them, 2 chapters every week, and the exercises are long. And I understand that this book has long exercises, and we do want to have more exercise because it helps us to strengthen the concept. Yet I also understand that many of you, of course, have other duties, and 2 chapters a week may be too much to do. So I was discussing with Tapasyananji here, and what I was thinking is to increase the classes, 2 more classes. So we have Sanskrit Subodhini as the book we are following as our textbook. There is a logical ending at the end of chapter 24. So we of course cannot do the whole book here, but there is a logical ending here at the end of chapter 24. So nouns, and then after that the verbs form starts. So in this course, if we do chapter 24, and right now we have done till 15, then we can increase like 2 more classes. That will give us total 8 classes including today's, 7 more classes, and that will kind of make us almost 1 lesson a week. Maybe once we may have to have 2 lessons a week, but mostly 1 lesson a week would become the norm. So if you agree with that, we can do that. So let me know your opinion right now through the chat window. Okay, so I see most of the people are saying increasing the class is fine. So so that we will do. So what will that happen? And also on September 21st, we have a program in Miami, our Foundation Day seminar of the ashram. So we will not have a class on 21st, the Monday, 21st September. So that makes us our Sanskrit 2 course go till October end. It increases a little bit, but I think it's okay. Most of you have been agreeing with this proposal, so that's what we will do, and that will give us more time to those of you who want to catch up. So catching up would be easier, and also September 21st would be a break. We will not have class on that day. So and we will send out an email to everybody that what would be the schedule of classes. So so please wait for the email. We'll also send a WhatsApp message, but we'll send the email. And September 21st, we will not have class. That will be our one of the functions, Foundation Day seminar here. So we will not have class on 21st. So that will give us one more week extra in addition to 2 more classes, and that will make the speed a little bit manageable for many of you. And also those of you who have been left behind, they will have the opportunity to catch up. There is a question here. I hope you will be receiving our exercise after course end, if you please. Yes, please do send. Please do send your exercises even after the course ends. Actually, some of you are sending the exercise still from course 1, and that is fine. The main thing is not that one person is left behind. Main person is that person is not left behind in his or her own efforts, and that is the important thing. As long as you are making the effort, we are here to support you. So please do send your exercise after the course ends also. So we'll send you the schedule of the course, and with this I will break for the classwork. And here is the classwork here. So this is from lesson 16 of Sanskrit Subodhini. So today we will have only one lesson of the Sanskrit Subodhini as exercise. That will be lesson 16. And you can study this. And we will send the questions through the chat window. So study these page numbers. Right now it's 10:01. We will gather in about 10 minutes. Welcome everyone. I want to there is a comment here. I'm having difficulty in understanding the English grammar itself. That is true. I had to study the English grammar books also when I was studying Sanskrit. And I know one person, he was showing me his Rain and Martin. He dusted off his Rain and Martin high school English grammar book to study the English grammar. Because when you are studying the grammar in Sanskrit, there would be some connections with the English grammar. And we are using the English as our medium. If it were Hindi or another Indian language, it would be a little different. So some of the verb forms, as you can see, I was telling you that you add ya and then add the Atmanepadi endings. So it can go in all the 10 tenses because it's a verb form. We only saw the present tense, but Atmanepadi, just like Atmanepadi endings is in past, future, present, similarly the passive verb forms can be in past, future, or present. So you see, it's fairly simple. You add ya and then make the form. In some cases, like G ya te becomes G ya te. So G becomes G. Why it becomes like that? Of course, there are rules in Sanskrit. And one rule I can just tell you, that when a verb ends in a short vowel like G, it becomes long vowel. There are many other rules which may do the things differently, but just to keep in this simple rule in mind, that a verb ending in the short vowel, when you make the passive form or the karmani form, it ends in the long vowel. So similarly, like some verbs change differently. Da becomes di. We can't go through the rules of each and every one, but in Sanskrit, as I told you, everything is rule based. When you study Panini grammar, every single rule is there. There are, truly speaking in Sanskrit, there are no exceptions because everything is rule based. So, but those rules itself, that requires a fairly good amount of study to understand those rules. So, but just to understand that these are the forms, and we already did that, this kind of, but just to again go like Ramo Vidyalayam Gacchati, Ramena Vidyalayah Gamyate. Karma becomes the first case, Karta becomes the third case. Here you see Ramo Gruham Gacchati, Ramena Gruham Gamyate. It seems like as if Gruham did not change, and that can be a bit confusing. Ramo becomes Ramena, but Graham remains Graham because Graham is the neuter noun and it has the same form in the first and second case. So here when I say Ramo Graham Gacchati, Graham is it is like Vanam. First and second case both are the same. So when I say Ramo Graham Gacchati, here Graham is karma in a kartari sentence, and it's coming in the second case. It's a karmani case. Karmani is karmani verb, gamyate. So karma comes into the first case. So here Graham is actually first case. So just to remember that. It becomes clearer here, like Ramaha Bhumim Khanati, Ramena Bhumihi Khanyate. The idea is that in the kartari form, karma could be anything, and it doesn't matter. It could be in any number. It has to be the second case, but it could be singular, dual, plural. It could be masculine, feminine, neuter. It doesn't matter. But in the karmani prayoga, the karma has to be in the first case and the karta has to be in the third case. So it could be aham also. Aham putran pashyami, maya putraha drishyante. So you see, aham becomes karta here, that becomes maya, third case. I hope you remember the forms of aham. So we have to see the pronoun table. So aham, maya is the third case singular. Tvam, toya is the third case singular. So maya putraha, putran, because it is drishyante, the form becomes drishyante, it becomes putraha. Tvam bharyam smarasi, toya bharya smaryate. So like that. As I said, it can work in all other tenses also, not just present tense. So present tense is like tvam bhumim khanasi, toya bhumihi khanyate. Then if it is the past lang lakara, past imperfect tense, which becomes akhanaha, it's a kartari prayoga. Then akhanyata becomes a karmani prayoga. Just like you will make the kartari prayoga, just use that, I said khanya, that would become the stem, and then you use the lang lakara atmanepadi endings. That's all. So similarly, lot lakara, it becomes khanyatam. You use the atmanepadi ending. So like here I see labhadhatu. So lot lakara is labhetam. So from here it becomes like that. Toya bhumim khana, toya bhumi khanyatam. Toya tom bhumim khanehe, toya bhumi khanyeta. It's a labheta, khanyeta, like that. So it can work in any of the tenses because it's a verb form. So we already covered that. Tvam gacchasi, bhavi prayoga. Here no karma. Gamyate would become the verb form and toya becomes the karma. Okay. And this is a case where I was telling you manya form, manyate. So nrupaha amanyata, the king thought. Nrupena amanyata. it just happens to be the same word, but it's different form. Here it's a karmani form, here it's a kartari form. And you can get it by seeing that karta is in the third case. Let me see the questions. There are some questions here. There is a question, the root word of adishat is this. How can I know the root word if I was just given a past tense like adishat? Can't find in dictionary. No, you can't find in dictionary, but if you know the grammar, you will know that it is the past tense of dish. There are some other sites where you can, I have mentioned those sites in our document repository, which can help you to find out what form it is given a verb form. There was a request for posting the solutions to the class exercise. So we will not have this class exercise separate as solution. It will be included in the home exercise. So when we put the home exercise, these sentences will be there, and there you can find the solution and have the opportunity to solve those sentences. There's a question here, Shimanima, I'm not sure what is your question. The question you are asking is, in the first sentence translated as water is drunk by which vessel? It doesn't make sense. You are asking about the classwork, I think. Tena patrena jalam piyate. By that vessel, the water is drunk. So that's what it means, that somebody is drinking the water by a vessel. So by him, tena. So if it is a kartari prayoga, it would become he drinks the water by the vessel, or with the vessel, with the help of the vessel, through the vessel. And here it becomes by him water is being drunk with the vessel. So patrena here is third case, not because it's a karta, but because it's an instrument. Tena is a karta, so saha is the karta, so it becomes an instrument here. Tena. You will understand this, you will have more time to solve these exercises when you, it will be a part of the homework also. So there is a question, do we look for the instrumental case like kena in the noun and ya in the verb to identify it's a passive? Will this rule generally work to identify these kind of sentences? Generally, yes. And it's not the instrumental case will always be kena kind of thing. It could be anything. It's like if it is aham, it is maya. So it's only Rama that Ramena will come. But in other cases, the instrumental case could be different, as you may have seen so far doing the nominal forms. Not just for pronouns, but also for like Hari, it becomes Harina. Atman becomes Atmana. So like that. So third case, and third case could be in singular or plural, or so third case could be in any number, singular, dual, or plural. Okay, so these are the forms. So this is like gamya. I told you, if you make gamya as the stem, then all other forms are also created. Gamyate, gamyate, gamyante, like that. So it's very easy. Once you know any atmanepadi endings, you can make the passive forms easily. Just stem would have the ya in between. Then there is also that what happens with the gerund and infinitive, which we studied in the last class. or before last class, class 9 we studied that twa pratyaya and tvam pratyaya, tumun. So we studied this gerunds and infinitive twa, krutva and tumun, kartum, shrotum, gyatum. Because these are indeclinable, their forms do not change even if it's a passive voice. So they remains the same. But there is a catch, and catch is here. Look at this sentence. Paktva Ramaha odanam khadati. So first you just see the simple sentence. Ramaha odanam khadati. Rama eats the rice. And if you make the same sentence in the passive, odanaha khadyate ramena, because odanam is the karma, khadati becomes khadyate in the karmani prayoga. So odanam becomes odana, it's a karma. And Ramaha becomes Ramena because it's a karta. And Paktwa remains the same. Paktwa does not change. Now look at this form. Gruham Gatva Ramaha Odanam Khadati. So now Gatva here is connected with Gruham. So Gruham Gatva is like a clause. And this Gruham is not the karma for the Kriya. So it is a karma for this participle Gatva. We are making the passive for the Kriya, Khadyate. So the Odanam is the karma for eating, Kriya. That's why it becomes in the first case. But Gruham remains in the second case only. This is a confusing example because Gruham has the same form in first and second case. But the idea is that Gruham Gatva as a whole, it's the karma of the verb which changes. Here Gruham, I told you, is not a karma of the verb Kriya. If it's a karma of this Gatva, the participle, that's why it will not undergo change. Only the Odanam, which is a karma for this Kriya, that will undergo change. So Odanaha Khadyate. Similarly here, Ramaha Odanam Khaditum Gruham Gacchati. So he goes to home. This Gacchati is connected with Gruham. So Gruham comes in the first case because Gamyate becomes the Karmani Prayoga. But Odanam Khaditum, Odanam is the karma for this eating. It does not become the first case. It remains Odanam only. So just to, it should be pretty clear once you understand the sense of the sentence that you can take off that clause. So the best way is that if it is confusing, you just make the sentence without having the gerund or the infinitive. So here I can just have the simple sentence Ramaha Odanam Khadati, and then you just make the passive of this sentence, and then Gruham Gatva remains the same. Similarly, Odanam Khaditum, this is not the main sentence, this is the clause. Ramaha Gruham Gacchati, that is the main clause. So you will say Ramena Gruham Gamyate, and then Odanam Khaditum remains the same as Odanam Khaditum, like that. Any questions? Okay, so we will have only one chapter this time for the homework, that is lesson number 16. I have pretty much covered that lesson also here, so you should not have much difficulty in understanding that. Please do solve these exercises and also try to catch up with whatever you have not been able to catch up so far. So, and we will send out an email giving a schedule of all the classes, which is basically increasing the course by 2 classes. and that gap in between on 21st September. So we'll send out that notification in the email. So there's a question, try a bit confusing with the jiran, try to ignore it in the use. So just if it is confusing, you just remove it first, just as if it is not there, and then just make the sentence as passive, and then just add the jiran part as it is, like graham gatva is the jiran part, having gone home. So then you put the same part as such. The idea is that the things which is connected with gerund or infinitive, that does not undergo change. Only the verb form and the karma which is connected with the verb form, that undergoes the change. Okay. So with this, we'll is the time. I think today's class was a little bit good with the new concept. I hope you all understood it. And if there are any questions or anything, just feel free to send us an email. And if there are many questions, I can take some of those in the next class. We'll close the class with the prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everyone.